Just a quick note before we start tonight's show. You may have noticed a decline in Isaac's audio quality in recent episodes, such as our Seed Freedom review or this episode you're about to hear. This is because his trusty podcasting mic recently died after more than 4 years of service to Xeon. As a result, he's been using a backup microphone which, until recently, had been pretty reliable. Unfortunately, the backup microphone seems to have also taken a turn for the worse, with frequent mic pops that become most apparent when listening to the recording. The good news is a new microphone is on its way, so tonight's episode will be the last with the poppy backup mic. I've done the best I can to minimize the pops, but there's only so much that software can do. We are releasing the show anyway, as I still think it is listenable, albeit certainly a bit unpleasant at times. And the alternative was no show at all for several weeks. If you can bear a healthy dose of mic pops, we hope you'll enjoy tonight's episode, How Do You Destroy, Take Out, or Otherwise Neutralize the Gundam?
Hey everybody, welcome to Colony Drop, a Gundam podcast. My name is Isaac.
And my name is Brian, and this is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise. From the anime, to the music, to the movies, to the models, to the clothes, to the food, you name it, Isaac, we do it.
Absolutely right, Brian. In fact, we do so much stuff here on this show, Brian, like talking about the lore and like our top fives, that this is something we haven't done in a while. Today's episode is a hypothetical, isn't it, Brian?
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one, and I can't wait to get to it. But first, Isaac, we have a few announcements to go through.
We do. Let's hear them.
So number one, this is something that all Gundam fans in America can take part in. It was recently announced that certain Gundam films will be coming to theaters in the United States through Anime Expo Cinema Nights with Icon events. So, Mobile Suit Gundam compilation film 1, 2, and 3, as well as Char's Counterattack. The Mobile Suit Gundam compilation films will be coming out in October. The first one is on October 2nd and October 6th. The second one is on October 16th and October 20th. And the third one is on October 23rd and 27th. And then Char's Counterattack, wow, Isaac, isn't actually until March. So we have a ways to wait for that one.
That's fine with me because I don't like Char's Counterattack that much.
And then also shameless plug, because both Isaac and I are big fans of Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop Knocking on Heaven's Door starts February 5th. Also a great film.
Wow. Yeah, that was a doozy.
So Isaac and I are going to make an effort to try to get out to all of these Gundam movies because they haven't really come out in theaters for 25 years since Gundam has arrived in America. So Isaac, we better I'm not counting on a second showing here, so we better show up.
Brian, there are comets that pass the Earth more frequently than Gundam shows up in US theaters.
That's true. So what we're saying is you better get out there. You better support the brand. You better buy your ticket.
Yeah. If you can hear our voice, buy a ticket to your nearest theater. Even if you don't go. Yeah. Just show that you were financially supporting it.
It's the same thing. First I thought it was just AMC's, but I did see some Regals on there, so I think it's like, chain agnostic. So hopefully one by you has one of these films. So
are these movie industry terms? Chain agnostic? What a great term.
All I know, Isaac, is we should probably find a different theater than the one we tried to see Seed Freedom at.
You don't want to give their electrician a second chance?
No, I don't. We'll not be going back there.
You don't want to give their city's Department of Energy and Power a second chance?
Over my dead body.
We never use those free tickets they gave
I know. You know why? Because I'm never going to go back there.
I have no reason to go to that theater. It's out of the way.
I think I've actually lost it. I'm not even sure where it is anymore.
I probably threw mine away as well. I figured, I'm not going back, But you have to go back, though, Brian, for the chicken parm sandwich.
That's true. Good God. As a reminder, listeners, the free ticket they gave us to was expired. And they were like, don't worry about the expiration. We promise it will work.
We'll honor it.
Yeah.
Cross our hearts.
We'll see. I believe it when I see it. All right. Announcement number 2. This podcast is a very big fan of Iron-Blooded Orphans. And the first Iron-Blooded Orphans Master Grade in 8 years or something was finally announced. Master Grade Gundam Vidar coming out in March 2025. So if you're an Iron-Blooded Orphans fan, if you're a Master Grade fan, I highly recommend you go order this one because we got to show Bandai we want more Iron-Blooded Orphans stuff. It also looks really cool. I'm very excited to get that one.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
And Isaac, the best announcement that we have is that we have been invited back to Anime Expo, but this time it's Anime Expo Chibi. It takes place on November 9th and November 10th in Ontario, California. I believe it's at the Ontario Convention Center, but if you just go to animeexpochibi.com or whatever it is, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
We're going to be hosting Gundam Trivia once again. on November 10th. That's a Sunday from 1:30 to 2:20 in the afternoon. So if you're in the area and you want to come hang out with us, play some Gundam trivia, maybe win some chibi prizes, come on out. It's going to be a good time. Isaac's going to be out in full force. Maybe we'll try to dress up or something this time. And Isaac, I'm thinking it's Anime Expo Chibi, so I think I think all of our prizes have to be like SD model kits this time.
Why not? That'd be fun. Most people don't have, they have models, right? But almost no one goes for the SD. And it'd be a good little, stuff to put on your desk or your dresser, around your little living space, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's fun. So hope to see you all there. If you can make it, come on out. It's going to be a good time.
And reminder, that's Ontario, California. Not Ontario, Canada, for all our Canadian listeners that we know would line up outside the door in the snowy cold in Canada.
I mean, I would love to go to Canada, but it is very confusing because sometimes CA, people sometimes use that as an abbreviation for Canada as well. But in this case, It is Ontario, California. Do not fly to Ontario, Canada, although I would be flattered if you actually flew to Canada to see us. But
we'll do it, Brian. We'll do a Canadian Gundam trip. Yeah. It'll be the American invasion of Canada.
I wonder if any of the One-Year War was fought in Canada. Maybe a little bit was.
Why would they go there?
I don't know.
Like, what's... Oh, I just revealed my true thoughts about Canada. I mean, there's no reason.
Seems like a very nice place. Maybe Zeon needed a lot of timber or something.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Garma liked the skiing. He was out on the slopes.
Anyway, today's episode, as Isaac said, is a hypothetical. It is ways that Zeon should have employed to destroy the RX-78-2 Gundam, a.k.a. the White Devil.
That's right. Or a more condensed way of saying, how do you take out a Gundam? The Gundam. How do you take out the Gundam?
Yeah, this is not the Strike Freedom, for example, or the Barbatos.
How do you take out heavy arms? Oh boy, this would be tough. Just make Trowa sad. Yeah. Oh.
Get him when he flips, Don't let him land his triple Lutz or whatever he does.
Oh, there you go. Cut the rope. Somebody cut the rope.
Then he turns into Robin.
Oh, but how? He's the one that fell.
That's true, yeah.
He'd be Oracle,
right?
Yeah,
I guess he's already Robin, right? Because I think he is an orphan, so...
I don't know. Endless Waltz made so many mistakes.
I wonder if that's why Heavy Arms has like an orange and red and black color scheme.
Oh, yeah, because the show designers, they were huge Robin fans. Huge fans of Dick Grayson.
He's got the big bat wings. I'm just saying.
I mean, Batman the Animated Series came out at the same time.
There you go.
The Flying Graysons.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, listeners,
Heavy Arms.
Also Batman tangent. Certain Batman films are in theaters this month. I don't know if this will be edited before you hear this, but Mask of the Phantasm is out right now, Isaac.
Wow. That's a throwback.
Yeah, that's a good movie. So,
goodness. Yeah.
Back to Gundam. So, Isaac, I have 5 ways to destroy this Gundam.
Interesting.
I don't know how many you have, but your task is to destroy the Gundam. You have 3.5 months to do it, because if you recall...
Whoa.
The Gundam, rose up off the little cart in September, like mid-ish September. I believe it was September 18th. So the war's over, December 31st. Isaac, you got 3.5 months to do it. We're going to say our ways, and listeners, we're going to want to hear from you about what your ways are. You would go about it. But before we say our ways, Isaac, I wanted to go over a few ways that I thought were most successful in the show, or like where they came the closest to level set.
Okay, the runner-ups.
Yes. So 4 or 5 of them came to mind real quick. So 1. When Makuve and Kycilia attacked Amuro in the Adzom using that electromagnetic thing that like heated up the outside of the Gundam, that was pretty close. They almost got him there.
Yeah.
He pulled some shenanigans and got out of it. But I feel like if they had just tried that a few more times, they might have got him.
Send more Adzoms.
No one has ever uttered that phrase, by the way.
God, they're horrible. The horrible purple onions. Useless.
Maybe the next one that I thought was good was in episode 14 called Time Be Still. That was the one, Isaac, where the Zeon infantry flew around and put bombs on the Gundam.
Yeah, they had a little crack team, right? Was that Rawls' team?
I don't know if it was Rawls, but I remember that they were very worried that the Gundam was going to explode or be, damaged beyond repair, which I think is the goal here, right? So.
Right, yeah. I remember that.
Speaking of Rawl, he also sliced open the cockpit. That was pretty good. Not many people did that.
The heat rod, right? The heat tentacle?
Was it the rod or that rod? Was it the rod? Was it the rod or was it the saber? I don't remember. But he got that cockpit open one way or the other, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
An honorable mention should go to the pilot that kamikaze the white base when they were in re-entry to try to take out the Gundam. That was a good shot. I think everyone would have expected the Gundam to get destroyed after that.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Wow. A lot of close calls, but none of them pulled it off, Brian.
No, the only one that did really was the Zeong's head megaparticle cannon that finished the job.
That's true. And that was such a sucker punch of a weapon, too, because no one fights a mobile suit and think, like, the head's going to float away and keep fighting.
Right, absolutely. And plus, you got to think, like, how many shots do you get when you disconnect the head? Unless it has its own reactor or something.
There's got to be, yeah, I'm curious about that. I mean, who knows? I mean, you have to remember, too, the Zeong's so massive. Like, who knows what they actually put into the design of it. I'd hope it gets more than one, but I'd be, if it is on a limited battery, there shouldn't be more than 10 shots in there.
Oh, no way, not 10. I'm thinking 3 tops, yeah.
Okay.
So those are all my honorable mentions, Isaac. How many ways do you got?
I approach this, and I hope you do this too, listeners, as if you're a Xeon officer, a strategist sitting in like a mandatory, dark, dimly lit boardroom. Some people are probably smoking in the back. Even though it's the future, there's a projector.
General Isaac, tell us what you got.
Yeah, we're looking at maps and stuff. There's a map on the screen. People are looking at it.
Do they have like one of the old style maps though, where it's like a real map and they play like they have that little shuffleboard like thing where they move the troops around?
I hope so. Those are always cool.
Yeah,
totally wargaming it. Even though we're really just talking about one mobile suit, we don't really need the map, but it still looks cool.
If they had made a live action movie, that's how I picture they would have done it in 1979. But in like Tomino-san would have been one of the generals, and he'd be like smoking a cigar and like moving that shuffleboard thing around with the troops.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah, he would do it.
Yeah, he'd be a great background character. Just old general smoking. Okay, so I actually have 7 to 8, and I'll explain why I said 7 to 8 during the reading, because one of them I don't really consider a full entry for this for this topic. But yeah, I got 7 to 8, Brian.
All right, well you start us off then, because I only got 5.
Okay, ooh, all right. I'll start. These aren't in any particular order as far as effectiveness or not, but I think I'll start off with the one that I don't think is fully counts for this and shouldn't count, and that is a nuclear weapon. It's too low-hanging fruit to say just blow up the Gundam with a nuke. Yep. Also, I think even within Zeon, there'd be a lot of pushback from the hierarchy of just wasting one nuke for one mobile suit. Even if some of the frontline aces reported back, you don't understand. Whatever's going on with this mobile suit, this white devil, it's wiping us out everywhere it goes. It's invincible. You have to use the nuke on it. It's worth breaking the treaty. I can absolutely see it being overwritten, but yeah. Eat low-hanging fruit, just use a nuke to take out the Gundam. Of course, the issue with that is, as we've already seen, Amuro's a very good shot. He might take out the missile before it even gets in range of going off. So you'd have to kind of hide it or something, or get it closer to him under like the guise of a vehicle. I'm not sure, but the immediate thought is a nuclear weapon like Makuve tried, but didn't work out.
Yeah, it always sucks when the target shoots the nuke down that was targeted at them. That's not something you count on when you launch the nuke, I guess.
And then I said, well, if we're not going to use a nuke, then like something like the Moab, which is that huge missile that the U.S. military has. But I mean, see, even though it's a step down from a nuke, it still faces the same issue of the Gundam can just one-shot it almost any time Amuro wants. If he's not distracted by someone else, Amuro can do it. 10 out of 10.
Plus, I don't know how much less effective the Moab is than the nuke, right? But with the nuke, you can like kind of miss and still hit your target.
Absolutely, yeah.
But in the Universal Century, where obviously we've got Minovsky particles, so you're kind of on like visual only here. So you'd have to fly that Moab over the Gundam or over the white base and see it and then drop it. So that could be a problem too.
That gal's not making it.
No, Amuro's really good at shooting down gals.
Kai's going to take it out or something. Something's going to happen to that gal. So this was my maybe entry that I thought was just too basic of an idea to put out there. So it technically should only half count.
Got it. Okay.
All right, Brian, what's yours?
By the way, I knew you were going to have nuke as number 1 on your list, so it was very predictable there.
Do they work? I rest my case.
You Zeonic scum.
Let's ask Albert's childhood friends.
Oh, Jesus. All right, so number 1 on my list. So I treated like destroying the Gundam. I took that in various ways. So not all of my things exactly destroy the Gundam, but they would render it ineffective, in other words.
Okay.
I'm going to go with my most boring one first.
Ooh, okay.
And that is, if you're Zeon, to recognize I cannot beat this thing, therefore I'm going to just leave it alone or sort of make it useless by moving all of my troops elsewhere. and minimize its effectiveness. It can't do as much damage to me if I just don't fight it.
So you're like avoiding it. Okay.
Yes, I'm basically just doing an avoiding strategy. If I know that this is headed out to some big offensive, then I'm going to give them a reason to change its course and go over here. I'm going to fake a big plan over there, or I'm just going to evacuate all the troops out of the base and let him take the base when he gets there. I'll leave a few behind to be like, oh, they're still here, but not really. Because if I know that I can't beat the thing, just stop throwing all your good stuff at it. Go put those resources somewhere else.
That's challenging, see, because I can understand the logic of it, right? It makes perfect sense. You're not going to lose stuff to the Gundam if you don't send stuff at the Gundam. Yes. But at the same time, there's some stuff you can't move, like Odessa. We can't... Agree. Zeon High Command can't really move Odessa or Baoku or Solomon, so that stuff is still going.
Baoku, you're kind of screwed at that point. But I'm saying, even if you're at Odessa, I would find out where it is and then move my forces somewhere else. You can't change the locations of your bases, right? So, fine. Just admit to yourself that base is lost and you cut your losses before they happen and just
I see.
Get out as much as you can.
It's almost like the good Zeonic General Brian has... you made a lot of families happy because a lot more men got to go home.
Oh, yeah. I saved Private Ryan, damn it. Like, I brought him
many
home.
a Zeon squad got to go home because General Brian said, avoid that mobile suit. I don't care if it's a 6-point promotion. Just go the other way.
Right. Yeah, so that was my most boring one.
Nice.
So on number 2 for you.
All right. Number 2 is sort of in the same vein as yours in a way. And this is for Zeon to focus on the Gundam support system, namely the white base. If you think about it, the Gundam really is tied with an umbilical cord to the white base. They're attached at the hip.
Yep.
So by taking out white base, again, with some type of targeted missile, even a nuke, or, I mean, even if you don't use a nuke, my other option was, that big beam bazooka Gelgoog I had imagined, whatever I called it, sniper gook. That thing just exists to snipe out particular capital ships, using a huge scoping system and target identification. It'll figure out who's the white base, who's the flagship, and just take them out in battles. So that could be applied here to focus on the white base, which is the Gundam's all-encompassing support system. Outside of that, depending on how knowledgeable Zeon is at this point in this hypothetical, you could just simply have your local fleet of Musai that's fighting, the Gundam and the Federation fleet and whatever battle's happening, to have specific orders, like everybody focus fire on the white base, and hope that incoming fire from the Musai's beam cannons is enough to take out the white base. Because once that's down, oh boy, how will the Gundam go on at that point? It'll be very difficult. Not just because Amuro will be emotional and, damaged from losing all his friends that were in the white base, his whole family, really. But also from Amuro now needing to rely on, I guess, a Salamis, maybe maybe a Magellan. That's the key of it. You're actually not fighting the Gundam, you're fighting the white base, which has the ammo. Amuro's living quarters, the water, all the maintenance, the mechanics that keep it going, the logistics, the information, the intel that lets it get deployed, the communication with the rest of the Federation fleet. So yeah, that was my number 2.
Well, that was actually on my list as well. So I'm going to add on to that. I completely agree with everything you said. The one thing, though, you forgot that it also is on the white base, it's a very big resource, which I can't believe you forgot this, is the salt, Isaac. Don't forget about the salt. The chef needs his salt, damn it.
Yeah. I mean, burgers without salt. Have you tried it?
It's not good. And if Amuro's salt levels are low, I mean, he's just not, he's not going to do well out there on that battlefield.
He has no electrolytes. They have to surrender because he has no electrolytes.
Get that man some Gatorade. Is there Gundam flavored Gatorade? There should be. Bandai, you're dropping the ball.
I know.
Get the Gundam Gatorade.
So much merch. The Gundam is an American thing where this merch pops out of our consumerist heads compared to Japan where they're like,
probably
they got enough merch for Gundam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think what I would add on to yours, and you implied this, but I'm going to say it outright, is that, let's be fair, Zeon did get pretty close in grounding the white base several times. Char had it pretty dead to rights that one time when they were in that abandoned city and they had to hide in that stadium. The white base was not doing well for a long period of the war.
Right.
And to your point, if you take out the white base, there's not really anywhere the Gundam can go for a long period of time. Maybe once it was in space, maybe that's a different story. But if you can end the war while they're on Earth, you have a better chance. I mean, there's a chance that if the Gundam somehow did get back to a Federation supply line after the White Base went down, that maybe they would have moved him to like the Thoroughbred or some other, one of the other capital ships that we've seen in the side stories. That said, another way to starve the White Base of supplies instead of just attacking the White Base would be to look at the White Base's flight path and say, I know they have to get supplies at some point. I'm just going to go attack those Federation supply things instead of the White Base itself.
Yeah.
So find out where the Medeas are and just go destroy all of those.
That was absolutely one of my next items.
Oh, there you go.
It was called Denial of Resources, which is, we're essentially going to starve them out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't even think of going after the Medeas, but I was thinking of like maybe a resupply Salamis, something like that. But the Medea is even better because the Medea was almost always there as long as Matilda was running things. It was showing up.
Well, they
episodes.
eventually got her, so
yeah, she got pancaked. God rest her soul. Not only stopping supplies from getting to the White Base, but new personnel. Do you really need a Sleggar getting on?
No, you don't. Yeah, he ended up being pretty crucial to the war effort.
It's like, I know he's not a great Gundam pilot, but he's still a great pilot. And, whenever he's around, Zeon dies. So Amuro is really a component of a team. He's the star player and the heavy hitter, but if we weaken the team in general, the Gundam itself is much less effective. So yes, I'm glad we saw some overlap there in denying the White Base resources. Great minds think alike.
That's an interesting question on Sleggar.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if Sleggar doesn't exist? Maybe Amuro has a harder time fighting the Big Zom at the end of the war or whatever. But I feel like Sleggar's presence sort of catalyzed Bright and Mirai getting together.
Didn't she get slapped? By
she
Sleggar?
did.
Oh my god.
But I know he hit on her really aggressively.
Oh my god.
So I feel like that woke Bright up, and was like, oh, if I like this girl, I need to do something about it.
Yeah. Good thing that guy died.
Yeah, well, that took him out of the picture too. But if they don't get together, Isaac, there's no Hathaway, which means stuff with Quest doesn't play out the same way. Plus, then there's no Mafty's Rebellion.
Wow.
Spoilers, Hathaway is Mafty. He kind of has a big impact on the Universal Century,
That's
ironically,
true.
for being an add-on.
It's Sleggar's timeline. We're all just living in it.
There you go. That's the quote for this episode.
Yeah. The Sleggar butterfly effect.
Yeah.
If you slap a woman, it affects history.
Look what happened.
One slap changed the course of the future.
Sleggar slapped one woman and a rebellion happened.
And now we have Mafty. Thank you. See what
Thanks,
happens. Thanks, Sleggar. All right.
So does that count as your number 3?
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
I've crossed them out in my notes. All right, that's 3. What's your 3 or 2? I don't know. What's your next one?
Yes, this will be number 3. So I'm gonna call this one the Davy Jones approach.
Whoa.
Now, Amuro did his fair share of water fighting, right? Undersea combat.
Yeah.
He always came out on top, primarily because the mobile armors were always trying to destroy him.
Mm-hmm.
If they had just focused on sinking him instead of trying to destroy him outright, what if when they grabbed him, they just attached some weights to him? Or instead of trying to destroy him, they just destroyed his thrusters? What if they just didn't care about anything else, sent 3 mobile armors after him, and when they were in the water, they break his thrusters? He can't go anywhere. If you attach some weights to the guy, he's going to sink. You're going to send him right to Davy Jones' locker. There's no way he's getting out. It functions a little bit in the water, but it's not great. And if you take away his thrusters, it's the only way he can get out of the water.
Did you envision a new mobile armor that Zeon sent out, and the guy piloting it is all piratey, the way he talks and stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like Davy Jones backwards. It's like the Javy Dones. Oh, that's the perfect name for a mobile armor.
The Javy Dones.
The Javy Dones.
It has to have pirate themed skull and crossbones painted on the mobile armor.
I bet. And the pilot's one-legged.
Yeah.
He's got a hook.
Yeah.
A hook and an eye patch.
Maybe he's even from what was the Thunderbolt squad called?
Oh,
the Living Dead division?
Yeah. Oh, God. What would his name be? It'd be
it's like Peg Leg Pete, man.
It'd be John Silver.
John Silver.
Or Silver Johns. Something very Gundam.
That's something that the Japanese definitely would have done in the 70s and 80s. It wouldn't have been corny back then. It would have just been
Javy Dones.
Straight face.
Javy Dones. Oh, that'd be great. We have to do it on a side story.
Arr.
I've got a sinking feeling. Okay.
It's like a pirate sect of the Living Dead division. It's the same Living Dead logo, but it has a hat on the skull, so it looks like a pirate.
Oh my god. Do you remember in Star Fox, the kind of pirate-sounding villain that was like the boss of the level Zonus?
Yes, I remember,
Okay.
yeah. Zonus was a hard stage.
Oh,
And
I
there was
know.
the pirate guy, yeah.
A cool level, but yeah. Oh, that's what I envisioned. Oh, but yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. The Gundam, for all its greatness, it really only excels on land and in space. In water, the only mobile suit I've seen that does well was Atlas.
Yeah, and I mean, Atlas that was kind of BS, right? They just,
As we discussed, that was clearly custom built, possibly with more money than was put into the actual Gundam.
Sure.
But yeah, the water is a weakness, almost like in any video game where you're playing a water level.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just because, humans really just shouldn't be in the water, right?
No.
Like, it's just not for us.
Yeah, humans don't do well in even like knee-high water a lot of the time.
We're just not good at that kind of thing.
I love that, Brian. You brought a smile to my face, some tears to my eyes.
We've got a whole new Zeonic division now. Javy Dones and John Silver. Or Silver's John.
Oh, that's great.
And do you think his mobile armor would have to have one of the ship wheels as like this to steer?
Oh, that'd be cool. I like that. Either he steers with that or like that's one of the weapons. It's like a beam Ferris wheel.
There you go.
Oh, and you know what? He spins it fast enough and it makes a whirlpool. Oh my god.
There you go.
This writes itself.
On his final approach, he's like, I've got you now, White Devil, and then he swings it all around until it just spins and spins.
Whirlpool attack. And Amuro's like, oh no! And he's like spinning in a circle.
I ask yet again, Isaac, why we are not in charge of the next Gundam series.
You know what? Sunset, we got a lot of work to do. We're still climbing that ladder. One day Sunrise will notice us.
You know what? The Gundam producer guy, Ogata-san, he's listening, and he's never going to hire us, but he's also laughing at the same time, so.
I hope so. After he has his assistant use ChatGPT to translate it to Japanese.
He's like these madmen.
Yeah.
Get him on the phone.
American baka.
All right, number 4, Isaac.
Hang on. About your approach, General. Zeonic General Brian. Okay, how much work did the Federation engineers put into the Gundam, assuming it might go into water? Like, is there a depth protection for it, or can you Minovsky your way out of it and say, oh, it can take any depth?
No, I think there's a limit on depth. I mean, we saw that in Thunderbolt, right? Even the mobile armor imploded, I think, at some point.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised about mobile armors imploding. I mean, sometimes they can get hit with a rock and they'll explode.
Those are made of cheap bootleg Zeonic steel. No, I think the pressure of the ocean is just crushing. There's no way.
Yeah. Okay.
So you either just take him deep enough so that he implodes, or hold him down there long enough until he gets the oxygen sickness, right, coming up, and he dies that way.
What's Amuro thinking? As like he's underwater, visibility's not great, but he sees like this giant mobile armor with a mono eye heading towards him in the water, and like one hand's like, probably a crab claw, and then the other one's like holding what looks like weights and chains.
I mean, it's nothing good, I'll tell you that.
What could the plan and strategy be? I wonder.
She needs to get out of the water. He should never be in the water to begin with.
Okay. My next one is very mobile armor related also, Brian.
Ooh.
Great minds think alike. This one, though, I simply titled, Don't Send Out Mobile Armors Piecemeal. Send them out as a group. Because, as we've seen multiple times, Amuro, he can handle a mobile armor. Well, actually, he can barely handle a mobile armor, I should say. A lot of the times he's, sweating and, having a rough time. He's in crisis mode. He's anxious. But he pulls it off. Sometimes by the skin of his teeth, but he pulls it off. Now, if we just double the difficulty by sending out double the mobile armors, fighting as a group, it'll be even worse for him. He'll get taken out. It's foolproof, really. It's kind of almost like the Black TriStar approach, but exponentially worse because now they're mobile armors, not mobile suits. So, assuming they've trained and they know how to fight as a group, fighting one mobile suit should be doable, I think. So that's a more military approach, I think, and how to take out the Gundam. Assuming you can get mobile armors into a group and have them go to wherever Amuro's at to fight him in the Gundam.
I like that. That's a good idea. And also, I would add that by introducing mobile armors or new prototype mobile suits one at a time, they sort of trained him to get better, right?
Yeah.
If you had just waited and he had never seen a mobile armor before and he sent 3 of them, hey, I think you're gonna get him.
It's the Power Rangers villain, like, sort of conundrum.
Yeah.
For listeners who aren't that informed or didn't grow up with Power Rangers, the Power Rangers is a group of 5 heroes, and then the villains are sort of usually often like some faraway evil castle or something like that. And each week they send one monster to go fight 5 heroes. When, if you think about it, if the villains have the ability to create monsters, why don't you just send 20 or 30?
And when they did that in like certain
the finale
season finales, it was always like the most apocalyptic scenario.
Yeah. And like the heroes were usually being like slapped around at that point.
Right. Yeah.
So
surprise.
This is really the same approach. It's like, well, if you send them out piecemeal, they're only going to get better at fighting what you send out.
Right.
But if you send out like the swarm, no one can stop the swarm.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's my number 4, Brian. How about you? What's your next one?
I like it. So number 4 for me is, this is something we have today, Isaac, which I think would work.
Oh.
I don't know if you're familiar with what thermite is.
Oh my God.
So thermite is this compound or whatever. I'm probably not going to use the right words here, but once you activate it, this chemical reaction starts that just burns incredibly hot, Isaac. And my understanding is the U.S. military uses thermite grenades to disable various abandoned equipment when they leave.
Oh, sure. Equipment.
Yeah. Because if you put it there, it's not coming back. And like, for example, there was a Mythbusters episode where they ignited some thermite on the top of an SUV and it melted through the SUV.
Wow.
And the UV rays coming off the reaction were so intense that they had to wear welder's masks to even like look at what was happening to the SUV.
Impressive.
And I don't know if this is true, but the announcer in the episode, he says that thermite, or at least the type of I know there's different types of thermite, but the thermite they were using, he said burns 3 times as hot as lava.
Wow.
So my son is always coming after me, telling me he's shooting lava at me, and like there's nothing I can do, like lava is a great power. If you can burn 3 times as hot as lava and just put some going back to those guys that put bombs on the Gundam, if you put thermite grenades on the Gundam, just put the thermite grenades on the joints, you cut off all of his arms and legs, you're good. Take the head out, 5 thermite grenades, and this thing is toast.
We have to talk about your son, because what a brilliant move to engineer a weapon that can not only hold and shoot lava,
oh yeah,
but chose lava as its ammunition.
Oh yes, yeah,
he's a brilliant mind. Excellent strategy.
Yeah, he loved Iceman because Iceman, shoots ice. Yeah. But then he was like, what is better than ice? And he decided that like lava is the best, and so he just always shoots lava at me somehow. So
I like him. He'll be a good Sentinel designer one day.
Yeah, so in other words, my son could destroy the Gundam because all you need is lava
or ice
thermite. Yeah, or Iceman. So yeah, I would use thermite grenades, Isaac. I feel like that could work. It wouldn't destroy, it's not like going to result in a giant ball of fire and the Gundam blowing up.
Yeah.
But you're going to foobar the thing, and it's just going to be this wreck that is irreparable.
Yeah, that's interesting. So how do you envision this? Like flight tub goofs? Like 3 of them carrying like thermite-based weapons?
I would even just do the same thing where they got the crack team of commandos that went in and put bombs on there.
How did nobody, like a lieutenant or sergeant in that group, say, we don't have to wait for the timer to go off.
Just do it now.
We probably should have just remoted these.
I mean, they probably didn't know how big of a deal the Gundam was. I think that was also kind of an issue for Zeon, right? Like, it took a while for them to take this thing seriously.
Well, as usual in Zeon, information was so compartmentalized, different groups knew different things. But yeah, if they loaded those up while Amuro was out of the mobile suit and then just hit arm and detonate, that would have been it. Or at least it might have taken like enough damage where it's out for a while until the war ends.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just, take off a leg, an arm. You know what I mean? That's heavy damage, right? So
right, yeah. Wow, that's brilliant. Okay. Well, my next one is somewhat in that same vein, Brian. Look, we're feeding off each other. Just our mental nexus. This one is simply titled, Take Out the Pilot.
Yes.
We don't need to take out the Gundam. We need to take out the pilot. Many a times we saw Amuro hanging out around the white base, walking around, going into little towns and stuff even. And he was clearly ripe for taking out with, say, a double G gas attack.
Oh, Jesus.
Perhaps some type of anti-personnel weapon in the atmosphere. In space, things are a little different, right? Because he's always in his little flight suit, right?
Sure.
Your only option at that point is just focusing on the whole Gundam. unless you can get him to come out of the cockpit. But Amuro really didn't do that often. So this is more of an Earth-based solution where it's, look, we're on Earth. On Earth, people don't wear flight suits. People like to walk around and stuff. They can't stay cramped up in the ship. They certainly don't need to. So we really just need to wait for the right opportunity and use some of that double G gas lying around and grenade it over to him when he's out at a restaurant or something.
I like how you could take him out with like a 9mm handgun, but you went right for the gas. Like,
Brian, there's so much gas left over.
you use the stock, is what you're saying.
Yeah. What's his name?
Jesus.
Kasagawa? Who is she?
Oh, man, I forgot his name. Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, he didn't get punished. He's still sitting on that gas. There's plenty to go around. We're not doing colony drops once a day, so there's plenty more gas where that came from.
Oh, man.
What's your next one, Brian?
My last one is actually very similar to that. I called it the attack the man strategy. So obviously there's, the man behind the mobile suit. However, I didn't do it with gas because I'm not a fascist like you.
Excuse me. I've interrupted. I'm only a space fascist for the purposes of Gundam.
Sure, not the terrestrial kind.
Hail Zeon. Degwin was right.
I went more with eventually they must start compiling some sort of mental profile of Amuro. And he has 2 clear weaknesses, Isaac. Well, maybe 3. He has an incredible affinity for helping out people that have sad sap stories.
Wow, yeah.
Right? So you create some fake sad sap story. Oh, my family was lost, blah, I need help, blah, blah, blah. And then you just, you put a bag over his head when he goes back to help him and you take him away.
Wow.
Right? Problem solved. He also has a penchant for pretty, slightly older women. Like Lieutenant Matilda, Sayla, if you read the novel, people like that. So you get some good-looking Zeon lieutenant, and you send her in, she woos him, and then she just like shanks him, like when he goes in for a kiss. Yeah, the Black Widow honeypot strategy.
There you go.
And then even if you didn't do that on Earth, now you're in space, find another new type girl, and he has a weakness for new type girls, just send a new type girl after him. Say you want to go live happily ever after, blah, blah, blah. That would have been a more effective strategy by Char to just say, all right, Lala, just stay with him in the cabin.
I think Char's too possessive.
He's too attached. Agree.
To allow some strategy like that.
But maybe if he finds another, I guess that's hard to do. There's not many of them, I suppose. But you can see where I'm going here. We attack his other non-combat vulnerabilities.
Wow. Brian, in one fell swoop, you've done my remaining 3
oh no
ideas. But I mean, they're brilliant. So let's break it down. Okay. So one of them was, as you wrote it, I put essentially infiltrate the white base to take out the pilot.
Oh,
yep. And I did put use a young woman to get close to Amuro. It could even work as a civilian, especially if you did it early on, because the white base was packed with civilians.
Yeah.
Until Shark gunned down a lot of them. But just say that they're civilians that need help, something like that. One of them's a pretty young thing, and she cozies up to Amuro, or, I don't know, she's walking onto the ship and on the gangplank, and she trips over something, and who catches her? Oh, it's Amuro. Oh, thank you for helping me. What's your name?
Are you Amuro Ray?
And of course, they start hanging out and stuff, and then they're eating together in the cafeteria, and then she asks him to show her the Gundam, and he's showing her and stuff. And what does she do, Brian? Out from her hair, she pulls a knife.
Oh.
And she stabs him in the throat, and it's all over for the best pilot of the Federation.
Look, if there's one weakness that young men have, it's equally young women and their egos, right? So
True.
You get one and you stroke the other, and here you go. So,
pun intended. Oh,
I thought you'd catch that.
Okay, so that was my civilian approach, right? A non-combatant, seemingly, in a way.
Right.
No weapons.
And that worked really well in the show when Miharu did it, right, with Kai. Like, Kai was done.
Sure.
He was ready to leave. So, yeah, you apply the same thing to Amuro. 100%. It's going to work.
Right. Now, this next one is called the Shadow Team. This is a much more military covert ops approach where we have a dedicated shadow team not mobile suits, but essentially guys in some type of vehicle or a small group of vehicles. They're able to sort of really follow the white base, maintain an appropriate distance. Maybe they're using civilian vehicles, and they're just hoping for the opportunity where maybe the Gundam is let out of the hangar and the hatch is open and the white base has landed near a small town or something and gets themselves in position for a clean shot. Oh, it's Amuro. And he gets taken out by the sniper of the shadow team.
Oof.
Or a rocket to the cockpit, whatever. Maybe they do both at the same time. Admiral Isaac gave them strict orders, like, you can't mess this up. Do both at the same time.
At all costs. I try everything on the list.
I was overruled about the nuke, so I can't do that, but here's a sniper rifle and here's a rocket.
Do not come back with extra ammo.
No, yeah. So that's one opportunity, the way to do it, the shadow team. But yeah, that's kind of prone to, like, if the white base catches the shadow team or suspects them, they're done. Because they don't even have mobile suits. They're done.
Yeah, well, and also in Doan's Island, Amuro did step on that guy, so
yeah,
he will get you if you're not in a mobile suit.
He did it once and had a problem with it, but did it anyways.
That's true.
So the second time will be much easier for him to step on infantry.
Step.
Now, I might have saved the best for last, though, Brian, because this one is called Dark Deception Strategy. Ooh. Dark Deception Strategy. What is it, Brian? We both know there are hundreds, if not thousands, of derelict, damaged Salamuses and Federation resupply ships laying around.
Yes.
What Zeon needs to do is take one that's not so messed up, patch it up, and what do they have now? They have a decoy resupply ship. One that can get close to the white base, tell the white base, oh yeah, High Command sent us out here to help you guys. We're here to resupply you. Oh, we don't got any weapons. We barely missed that Musai fleet. Oh, they would have torn us up. We're defenseless, but thank God you guys are here. Here's your water supply. Here's your food supply. And you know what? Because the deception has to hold until everyone's consumed the poison food or water, the poison has to take effect by like the 24-hour mark. That's when you know everyone's either drank, showered, or eaten food.
Sure.
By that point, the white base is long gone, and the decoy resupply ship crew is like laughing and high-fiving because they all just got the promotion and the bonus, and they didn't have to fire a shot.
That's very, very effective. Very anticlimactic for a show, but very effective.
Thank you. It's so dark. That's why it was a dark deception strategy. Alternately, I thought, well, depending on how fanatical these guys are, they could theoretically just have like a bomb inside their ship, like a nuke or something. Sure, yeah. Like a la prequel to Witch from Mercury, and just detonate their Salamis once it connects to the white base. But I didn't like that one. Number one, there might be sensors on the white base, or even Amuro's ability to detect something's wrong.
Sure, yeah.
Or, as with Zeon, as we all know, there's a difference between giving people orders and what actually happens.
Right, yes.
So
absolutely.
They might have been told, detonate your ship for the glory of Zeon when you're connected to the white base. And what they might have heard is, we're not going to do that. We'll think of something else by the time we get to the white base. Or, this idea is insane. I'm not detonating my ship. I'm going to sabotage my mission before I get there. So that's why I didn't want to put too much trust into them as a crew. Whereas if I told them, you guys are really glorified poisoners, if you think about it, glorified assassins on a scale not seen in a long time, because you're going to poison a whole ship.
Sure, absolutely.
My third little sub-compartment plan, which would be, once you connect, you just storm in a hit squad. But I'm not completely sure that would be any other outcome different than, when Raul had his little squad in there.
Yeah, Raul already tried that, and it had pretty good success, but it didn't hit the mark, obviously.
You'd be fighting the white base's crew on their home turf. They know what they're doing. They might outnumber you, depending on what's going on. And number two, if this is happening in space, if they launch their mobile suits, the battle's kind of over, because they're going to have the resupply ship dead to rights, and at that point the crew probably came over is going to surrender because they'll lose their resupply ship, and that'll be that. So the poisoning was really what I thought the most brilliant solution if you used a decoy resupply ship to get to the white base.
No, that's key. Yeah, I like that. I think what you said too about not being able to predict Amuro's ability to pick up on your plan. I think the longer you wait to do any of these, it gets harder because Amuro's precognition gets a little bit better, and he's gonna kind of suss out what's happening. That's why I feel like he got to do this on Earth almost. I feel like once he gets back to space, I feel like it's a lot harder.
Because his soul's not weighed down by Earth's gravity.
Yeah, 100%, exactly.
Yeah, and I knew you couldn't use a poison that was too quick. Because if it was something that like kills you in like a second or minutes,
right?
The moment people bite something or take a drink of water or whatever supplies were brought on board, the jig is up.
Sure.
It has to be something with a delayed effect, so that slowly people in the white base start going out, and then by that point it's too late.
How does that work in the real world? Is it against the terms of engagement to poison food supplies?
I think not just that, but I think also Geneva Convention-wise, it's very much closer to sports teams, really, where you don't dare put on an enemy uniform. At that point, you're no longer protected because now you're considered a spy. So there's a lot more things that can be done to you if you're caught.
Got it.
And yeah, it's definitely frowned upon and a war crime. It's one thing to shoot at people. It's another thing to be in, poisoning food and water, which if at its base level, it's a chemical weapon at that point, which is a violation of almost all treaties and agreements.
Yeah, that was my next question was, does that qualify as a chemical and biological weapon? So.
Yeah, it would have to be, but that never stopped Xeon before.
No, that's true. Yeah, they're willing to push that button. So.
No. So yeah, Brian, I think that was my crowning achievement, how to take out the white base. But
I like it. Those are some good ones.
Knowing the white base, they'd find a way to get out of that one.
The chef would come running out. It's been poisoned. Yeah.
No,
salt.
Honestly, I think in the manga of this side story, like when the ships are connected and like everything's finally transferred, what comes on the horizon? It's Matilda. It's like, oh, they're not the resupply.
Well, I think those are some great strategies. I think some of them would have worked. Definitely some of them would have got close. Listeners, be very interested to see what you have to say. So leave us a comment. How would you destroy the Gundam in 0079 under the circumstances that Zeon encountered the Gundam? You don't get to design an anti-Gundam weapon specifically. You got to use what's around, what's laying around in your own, prowess and tactics.
You can't say, oh, I'd shoot the solar ray at the Gundam.
Right, yeah, come on now.
I don't even think it can target something that small. Like, how would the math work? I don't know.
Giran wouldn't wait that long anyway. He would just hit the button. So
he always shoots early.
Right. So yeah, let us know your comments, listeners, and we'll catch you in the next one. Isaac, take us away.
All right, listeners. Before you go to sleep tonight, stand next to your bed, get on your knees, put your hands together, look up at the ceiling, and hail Zeon.
Good night, everybody.